All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Star Trek Rewatch, where we're watching through every episode of Star Trek the original series, and we've made it up to episode number 20. This one here was actually filmed in production order as episode number 15. The final draft for this was produced on September 29th of 1966, and it was filmed in October of 1966. The writers for this episode were Don M. Mankiewicz, Stephen W. Karabatsos. The director for this episode was Mark Daniels. The composer was Alexander Courage. And the photographic effects were done by the Film Effects of Hollywood. So, as always, read here. Actually, I broke out the Star Trek Encyclopedia today as well, so we'll see if there's any pertinent information in here. Let's see. Court Martial, original series, episode 15, teleplay by Don M. Mankiewicz and Stephen W. Karabatos, story by Don M. Mankiewicz, director Mark Daniels. Star date for this episode is 2947.3. First aired in 1967. Kirk's career is jeopardized when he's put on trial for apparently causing the death of an Enterprise crew member. That's it. However, there are a whole bunch of entries here. This is back before the days of Memory Alpha Gang. Now everything's in a big wiki online, but this came out in 1994. This was like the first edition of the Star Trek Encyclopedia. So there are entries I can look up. We'll see if I feel like delving into any of these, but we'll read the entry from the compendium here by Alan Asherman. All right, here we go. During an ion storm, the Enterprise takes a severe buffeting, and records officer Ben Finney enters the starship's ion pod to take important readings. I got a question here. What in the world is the ion pod? I don't think we ever see this again. What is he doing? When the storm makes it necessary to jettison the pod, Kirk follows normal procedures and warns Finney to evacuate. The pod is jettisoned, with Finney apparently inside. At Starbase 12, Commodore L.T. Stone institutes a court-martial against Kirk. The records show that Kirk jettisoned the pod before Finney had a chance to escape. So it's all based on he jettisoned the pod before he declared the red alert. They were still in yellow alert. So it says Lieutenant Ariel Shaw, the prosecuting attorney and an old girlfriend of Kirk's. Actually, there's a pretty cool scene where she's in civilian clothing and Dr. McCoy is at the bar, and she comes in, and McCoy, suave and debonair, McCoy says, "All of my friends look like doctors. All of his friends," meaning Kirk, "look like you." Which I thought was pretty funny. Got a chuckle out of me. So Lieutenant Ariel Shaw, the prosecuting attorney and old girlfriend of Kirk's, retains the brilliant... Kirk retains the brilliant but eccentric lawyer Samuel Cogley to defend the captain. I like this guy. He doesn't like... he would not be a fan of your... What do they call those? Kindles, right? He likes books. He likes physical books. He's got this whole room just full of books everywhere, and he's all talking to Kirk like books, not this computer nonsense. Cogley, interesting character. It says, although all the evidence is against Kirk, Cogley, with the aid of Mr. Spock, is able to prove that Ben Finney is actually alive. Because of an old grudge, Finney had hoped to fake his death, discrediting Captain Kirk. It all hinges on Spock playing chess against the computer. In fact, there's a photo here of said scene where McCoy is playing against Spock. Spock says, "I programmed the computer myself." And he wins multiple games, and McCoy's like, "That's impossible." He's like, "I know, Doctor." So they figure out that the records have been tampered with. All right. I really like the scene where Kirk demands the court martial, because Stone is going to ground Kirk. Let's see, what is Stone's name? So Percy Rodriguez, who plays Commodore Stone, right? I thought he was really great. Kirk's like, he's like, convene a general court martial, and Kirk is basically like, I demand it. Really great scene. This is really a Kirk-centric episode, although I think a lot of them actually are Kirk-centric, which I think is great because I love Shatner. Excuse me. But Cogley, who is Kirk's attorney in this episode, is played by Elisha Cook Jr., who is in the he was in the Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart, a film which I've never seen. Don't shoot me. I know I need to see the Maltese Falcon. But I remember Elisha Cook Jr. from Shane, okay, the Western. It's a great Western, by the way. There is a scene where Elisha Cook Jr.'s character goes up against Jack Palance, who is a really sinister bad guy, hired gun in that movie. Great movie. You know, the book was okay, but the movie, I love the movie, right? So Elisha Cook Jr., I recognized him from that. But he was also in the House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. Another great movie that I haven't watched in probably 20 years. That's one that maybe I'll have to revisit come Halloween season. But yeah, I really like this a lot. I thought it wasn't like a great episode or anything, but it was still highly entertaining. I'm not going to go into all of this. Oh, the matte paintings for this, for the optical paintings for Starbase 12 here, I thought were really good. Here's one. It's in black and white, but really well done, right? I don't know if you get this in the remastered version. One of the things that popped up in this episode was the use of the word Vulcanian. Okay, we're not calling them Vulcans, so I think this might be one of the last references to calling the Vulcans Vulcanians. I'm not sure on that. Maybe somebody knows when the last use of it is, but this episode's out of sequence, so it was filmed as episode 15 before the Menagerie Part 1 and 2, but they're broadcast out of order. So yeah, I think they reuse some of the props from this episode in Court Martial. All right, let me see who played. I'm gonna see if I can find the lady here who played, because she's not listed in the compendium. She's not listed. The female prosecuting attorney. Let me check the encyclopedia for that entry. All right, so I found it. Lieutenant Ariel Shaw was played by Joan Marshall. There you have her. Okay, there's the entry. And it says, Starfleet attorney with the Judge Advocate's Office who prosecuted James Kirk's court-martial at Starbase 11 in 2267 for the apparent death of Benjamin Finney. This notwithstanding, Shaw had been romantically involved with Kirk in 2263, and they parted friends after the court-martial when Kirk was proven innocent despite her efforts to show otherwise. In fact, there was a really tense scene when they first met up, where she basically told him that she intended to bust him out of the service in disgrace. And I was like, dang. I mean, like, I don't know what Kirk did to this lady. They departed as friends, but that seems pretty cold-blooded, you know, as the late, great Rick James, right? Cold-blooded. Rick James! I'm not going to repeat the rest of that. Chappelle Show, you know what I'm talking about. Ben Finney here. Let's talk about Benjamin Finney real quick. I'll look up the entry for him, because this was the dude that faked his own death. And they basically proved that he was still on the ship, by using a microphone. It was just a microphone painted white to hold up to everybody's heart to eliminate their heartbeats one by one. They had like some um, ship, I don't know, you could hear the heartbeats, and when they get down to the last heartbeat after everybody's heartbeat's been eliminated as McCoy goes around, there's one heartbeat still beating, and Commander Stone says Finney. So I thought that was a really great scene. We've got Finney's daughter Jamie in this episode, was played by Alice Rawlings. She's out for Kirk's blood at first, and then she's all like, no, but Benjamin Finney here, who fakes his own death, is played by Richard Webb. So there you go with the Richard Webb right there. I think you see it, right? There he is. It says, a Starfleet officer was an instructor at the academy when James Kirk was a midshipman. The two were good friends, and Ben Finney's daughter, Jamie, was named after Kirk. Later, when both were assigned to the USS Republic, Ensign Kirk relieved Finney on watch and found a circuit open to the atomic matter piles that might have blown up the ship if it had not been closed. Kirk closed the switch and logged the incident, causing Finney to draw a reprimand and then be moved to the bottom of the promotion list. Finney was bitter about the incident for years, although he later accepted a position as records officer aboard the Enterprise under Kirk's command. In 2267, Finney staged his own death in an unsuccessful attempt to frame Kirk for murder. Anyways, I guess that's going to conclude this week's episode. I got a little bit super nerdy on you by busting out the Star Trek encyclopedia, which I got in 1994. I think I made my mom at the time. I didn't have a credit card back then because I was working at a donut shop as a kid, right? I said, Mom, use your credit card and buy this for me. It's a pretty cheesy commercial for it. TV, you know. 1994 was when Star Trek The Next Generation had gone off the air, and this came out, and they played a commercial for this encyclopedia during the Star Trek Viewer's Choice Marathon hosted by Jonathan Frakes, where they played like the top 5 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. Maybe I'll see if I can find that and cook that up. I don't know that I'm going to go through Star Trek The Next Generation, you know, episode by episode when I conclude Star Trek, but maybe I will do a season review. I recently just finished rewatching season 1 of Star Trek The Next Generation, so probably when I finish season 1 of Star Trek the original series, I'll take a little break off and then review season 1 of TNG as a whole. Do an episode by episode, like top 5 episodes of that season. It's a rough season, folks, but I'm going to wrap it up here. What do you think about Court Martial? You know, I like the fight scene. That was pretty good. Always love a good old-fashioned fisticuffs, buddy. But that concludes it. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.